we all can afford to spend on technology. The challenge is identifying the right technology to operate at scale. While we have been late adopters, we have been a good adopters.
Thank you so much, Mr. Setty, for joining us today. For those of you who are not from India, you will know that, you should know that SBI is one of the largest banks in the world, period, right? And I was just asking him, is it in terms of number of branches, but many parameters. It's one of the largest banks and most complex banking systems ever, right? And for those of us in India, and we have experienced SBI maybe 2-3 decades ago, and of course the experience wasn't necessarily what we all wanted. But if you go back for the last 10 years or so, the amount of transformation that a bank like SBI went through, and what you see today in terms of the technology prowess, the ability for them to do things so differently, I don't think any other public institution, public companies, public undertaking in India has gone through that. So kudos to you. So congratulations, Mr. Setty. It's been just phenomenal. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Rajesh, and thanks for the good introduction. But I'd take 2 minutes before you set off on your questions.
Yes.
Just introduce ourselves. Of course, a lot of people know about SBI, but the magnitude of the work SBI does in the banking space, both in India and abroad, I think needs to be retold. We have 22,700 branches and counting. We open almost 5 to 10 branches every day. And we have 500...
You should say that one more time. 5 to 10 branches every day?
Yeah. So, and we have 520 million customers. I think this is larger than many countries' population. And this is not only about the number of customers what we have, is the range of customers what we have. We have ultra high net worth individuals to the people who start the banking activity with zero balance account with us. And we take pride in this kind of range of customers whom we have. And 22,700 branches I mentioned. And today, I think everybody talks about UPI in India. And we have the largest market share in UPI. And the number of transactions we handle in UPI is 180 million transactions every day. And some of the banks don't do this 180 million transactions in a year in the world. So, no, I'm giving you this backdrop so that I'm preparing myself for the questions from Rajesh in terms of what he mentioned about the titans, how are we handling the technology transformation. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you. No, I think this is fascinating. The scale at which this bank operates is just phenomenal, right? But maybe we should start with that as our first discussion, Mr. Setty. I think you saw this transformation. You were in the bank even before you became the chairman. You sort of went through the process of how the bank went from one to the other, and then gradually built up its technology capability, if you may, and then eventually ended up transforming the branch. In some sense, I would want to argue the most important transformation the bank could ever do is probably technology transformation in many ways, because that changed the bank. And remember, we talked about yesterday in many sessions how every company is a technology company, right? It's not just about the technology services companies and people who build technology will have to think of technology. It's actually more important for a finance institution or a bank to sort of really become technology. So I would argue that the main reason why SBI is what it is today is because of technology. Would you agree with that? And if you
absolutely.
agree, then yeah.
It's not only about, of course, technology is one important element which makes us stand. This is a 218-year-old bank, which means that you stay relevant to the changing times. You reimagine, reinvent yourself to be, be considered as the leader in the industry. But I would definitely say that quite early on we realized if we have to handle the scale at which we operate, the technology should be central to our agenda. And this we pursued very seriously in terms of not only the technology adoption for the back offices, we also took the technology to the customers. I think both in terms of the internet banking. Mind you, in India, We were the first one to roll out internet banking even before the core banking has come. Today, everybody talks about the core banking where all the banks are connected, all the branches are connected. We were the first one to launch internet banking. So this was, the customer first approach. And our mobile application, you only need one, today has 880 million customers today, 8 crore customers. And more importantly, this is probably one of the most used financial services app, which 1.5 crore people, 115 million people logging in every day. So this is, we realize that if you have to operate at scale, for large banks, the biggest challenge would be that the technology has to be, we all can afford to spend on technology. The challenge is identifying the right technology to operate at scale. And many a time, because a lot of technology people are here, they ask, a lot of fintechs ask me that why there are not large number of fintech engagement by banks like SBI. We do one of the largest fintech engagements. On the YONO app itself, we have 33 fintechs working with us. What we realize that in many of the times, they don't come with the scale at which this needs to be operated. And while the solution looks very interesting, good, but they are not able to bring that, the standard of operations for our this thing. So we have spent considerable time to develop the capabilities internally. And we have the largest database. In fact, some of the data we originate every day because of the high volume of transaction. Everything is massive in size in terms of data warehouse, in terms of the way our data is architected and it is made available to the people. So we invested in every aspect of technology, not only customer journeys. Today, we were the first bank in India to set up a resilience operation center. Not only it is a SOC, that is Security Operations Center and Network Operations Center, we realized that with hundreds of applications running across the bank, we need to have one observability, and we set up the Resilience Operations Center, which now the regulator wants that this should be made available to across the banking industry. We are working with other banks also. So I think this approach of working on our technology needs has put us in good state. The financial inclusion also is another important element for banks like SBI. Out of 520 million customers, we have 170 million customers who are in the rural and semi-urban areas. They all start with a zero balance account. Yeah. And how do you serve them? Many of you may not know that apart from 22,700 branches, we have 75,000 franchises who work for us. They are in the rural and semi-urban areas with a small laptop. They provide services across the length and breadth of the country. And they go to the doorstep and deliver the services. And they do, for instance, 25 lakh transactions every day on behalf of SBI for our customers. So this is the technology adoption which we have done. And the UPI, since we were talking about scale, with 180 million transactions what we handle every day, our technical declines are 0.1%. This is the technology resilience which we built.
Wonderful. No, this is, even to listen to what you were saying, some of the numbers, I wonder, is it with the same set of zeros that I'm used to? But I think it is, and all of us, again, those who are from India, you will know that the brand which SBI enjoys, the trust that you've been able to, broadly live up to across our population has been just fabulous. You mentioned inclusion. You mentioned that you're serving a lot of people who are maybe previously unbanked, especially with some of the state-owned, you being a state-owned bank, and then the state actually had a lot of provisions for reaching out to the unbanked and having this bank account open because of the fact that we had the DPI rolled out with Aadhaar and all of that. I think you've been able to do a lot of those, unbanked. But my question to you is, while serving the underserved, would technology be a big enabler for you to sort of truly, without technology, obviously, it would have been very, very hard for you to do what you are doing today. But how did you leverage technology to serve the underserved, if you may?
Yeah, I mentioned right in the beginning that the scale requires the support of technology.
Right.
We couldn't have done that without. In fact, during COVID, we delivered direct benefit transfer to this beneficiaries of the government schemes, and from the time the money is received from the government of India, within a day, millions of people have been delivered the cash, 500 rupees every day, and every one of them has been served to the technology. The technology enables, people come, and as you mentioned, DPI, we have used effectively the Jam Trinity everybody talks about. The franchisee system, what we have developed, is purely based on Aadhaar, biometrics, and they are able to go, use the biometric and take the money. And this scale is possible only because we have used the technology extensively. Another thing is the fraud management for the financial inclusion customers, particularly those people who are coming for the first time into the digital financial system. We do a lot of digital financial literacy using the technology today. And interestingly, in the rural areas and semi-urban areas, the smartphone penetration is 70% among our customer base, which makes our things easier for us to develop and deliver those services. We do WhatsApp banking, which is having very large number of customers using the services. So obviously, technology has been a big tool in terms of serving them.
Yeah. No, you mentioned fraud detection. Again, it caught my attention because today one of the biggest concern while India is increasingly becoming more and more digital, and then everybody using your phone, bank accounts and transfers and all of that. Together with it, this whole fraud issues and people losing money because they get scammed with the scammers and so on and so forth. Now, to do all of the good stuff that you mentioned, whether it's fraud detection, credit scoring, personalized attention that you're going to give, obviously you use a lot of technology, whether it is artificial intelligence, machine learning, data analytics. I think you've done a lot of those serious advanced technology implementation. Now, the question I have is, did SBI have a bit of an advantage? And I'll tell you why what I mean. Many of the banks around the world have, and I think I mentioned it in one of the earlier discussions as well, they've kind of been very tech savvy from the day one. But you started off with not being very, very tech savvy, but then suddenly you started adopting the technology bandwagon, if you may. So, and I gave this analogy yesterday saying that, you missed the bus, but you took on a second bus, which was a sort of an express bus, which overtook the first bus in some sense. So was it easier for you to enable and implement technology because you were a late adopter?
What is important is that we got into the bus. So that's important. And true, I think it's not only for SBI, I think most of the Indian banking system got benefited because we started a little later, but we had access to the best of the technology. By the time, a lot of improvements have happened in the BFSI space. We took advantage of that. And today, but what is unique to Indian banking system is that while we have been late adopters, we have been a good adopters. In the sense that, we realized what kind of technology to choose and how do we customize it to our needs and our customer needs. I think this is and most of us also have used very low-cost technology. If you see...
Frugal innovation.
Through innovation. I think that is one thing. And large amount of collaboration also is happening in the BFSI space in India. So SBI definitely has got benefited because we started late, but we started well.
Yeah, that's why I said you caught the express bus rather than the slow bus. If there are any questions, please do raise your hand. Somebody will come back to you with a mic, and then please be ready with the questions if you can. Oh, there's one here, Raj. Yeah.
Mr. Setty, of course, I'm very pleased to know about the technology being a strategic advantage for you. And you seem to be pretty happy with what you've got. If there was something sitting from a strategic perspective, what are one or two key things that you would like to have available at the bank? I know you mentioned about fraud management, you mentioned about scale, but as a chairman of the bank, looking at the strategic direction, something always comes to mind because technology is never done.
I think what we all have to work definitely in the BFSI space is that how do we use an extensive data which is available in India to create the models. Of course, we are talking about, we've been very strong adopters of AI/ML models. Today, we have recently, 9 months ago, we have rolled out what is called a business rule engine for SME lending, purely based on data. And the SME, because inherent challenges of getting the data from them and assessment of their credit needs was always a challenge. It used to take maybe 10 to 15 days to give a credit approval. Today, I'm very proud to say that we can give in 15 minutes an approval for an SME loan. And this is purely because you have data available in the GST, income tax, our own account data. So this is, I think, we have to move more and more to extensive use of data, not only in SME lending. We have done fairly well on the retail loans. I think the data is being widely used by the BFSI sector. Agriculture is one area. I think we are going to focus how technology, both satellite technology, data availability, structured, unstructured data related to the farmer, and the crop patterns which are available now. We are working very seriously in terms of making the fruits of technology available to the farmers. And we would like to make as seamless their ability to take a loan from SBI going forward.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
this is fantastic because it also leads to the question of at the end of the day, I know SBI is implementing a lot of controls to protect customer data. Of course, if you look at the regulations from the government, whether it's the DPDP Act or any regulation related to customer data, is that something which SBI particularly does today to protect customer data on and above the regulatory framework which you need to adopt to?
So with our global presence, we are one of the early adopters in the banking space, GDPR.
Yes.
We are fully compliant with the GDPR, though in India it is not required, but we aligned our data management and data protection and data secrecy, privacy, everything, and especially on the PII data, we have very strong controls in terms of customer protection of their data. And that is also one of the reasons why in Indian banking industry is slow in adopting the public cloud. We need to work on what kind of solutions we develop while we are protecting the customer data, particularly PII data, but still will be comfortable in using the public cloud.
Wonderful. Any other questions from anybody? If you can just put your hands up. No?
My name is Anand Chella. I work for BSH Home Appliances India. And my question to you is, the theme of this NASSCOM is all about AI and creating a startup ecosystem. Now, getting a startup funding is very difficult in India. How is SBI going to look at this angle and provide much easier loans to startup companies, because there is a talk about increasing the number of startup companies?
So before I talk about the lending to AI startups, I would also like to share what we are doing on the AI, particularly on the Gen AI. I think a lot of conversation on the AI in the BFSI space. I think AI has a great potential in terms of customer protection and improving the models. And we are one of the first banks to roll out responsible AI. When we realized that we use almost 145 different AI/ML models, and we built the responsible AI, which is board-approved policy, and we ensured that there's no biases, hallucinations, all those things are taken care of, and extensively used in the fraud prevention on the customer protection side. Our proactive risk management uses AI/ML tool extensively. As far as your question on the AI is concerned, I think there's a intense focus in terms of supporting the AI development in the country, both from the government side, regulators side, and the people like you. We have set up a lot of, almost 7 startup branches in the country, which actually look at providing support banking services as well as credit to the startup industry. I think the engagement is very good. We also have worked with the government of India to come out with a guarantee program, because a lot of conventional lending finds it difficult to extend lending to a startup. Most of us may not be coming at the early stage. Obviously, the risks are not for the banks to fund those risks. But I think we are able to come on Series B onwards. I think most of us have been funding through most of the fund houses, if not directly. That funding, equity support is also equally important. The loans probably will come later. We need to work out an ecosystem where the equity support from the banking system also is available to the startups. The loan part, I think the guaranteed schemes up to 100 crores is something what the government of India is working on. So if at appropriate stage, I think if they approach, the startups come to us, we'll definitely look at it.
So you can get your application ready so that when you go out, you can get it signed. So, but I mean, seriously, I think, I want to shift the conversation to an area which you and I spoke about when we spoke a few days earlier on the insurance segment of BFSI. The I stands for insurance. And, insurance has the largest propensity, and people don't realize that, in terms of the technology infusion, if you may. I mean, all the way from, it could 100% do it pretty much with technology, and the influence of AI and ML, etc., is going to be much, much larger in the insurance space. But India is one of the lowest penetrated country in terms of insurance. And I know that SBI is certainly involved with insurance as a segment. Any thoughts around why is the hesitation, or what is the issue in this market that you are seeing in the insurance segment? Is it technology? Is it willingness for people to sort of think that this is an important thing? What is your assessment, and what are we doing about increasing the insurance in India?
You're right. I think insurance penetration as well as insurance density, both of them are a challenge here. Mainly because in terms of the financial maturity levels, the first stage would be savings.
Correct.
The second stage will be credit. The third stage is insurance, right? I think we are moving towards that. And the insurance industry also has been evolving and trying to offer solutions which are acceptable to people. We all have grown up basically on the endowment, money policies, but the pure protection is what is required in the country. And this requires a lot of education. Even among the literates also, none of us really are interested in buying a protection product, right?
Correct.
So this is the product which is actually required for this country. And all of us are working through both our internally. But one interesting thing which most of us may not be aware, that there is Jan Suraksha schemes of the government of India, which covers almost 30 crore people in India with a micro insurance, which is part of the financial inclusion.
Right.
And we have 40% share in that 30 crore micro insurance policy which are sold here. This is Prime Minister Jeevan Jyoti Bima, which is life insurance, Prime Minister Suraksha Bima, which is an accident insurance, with a minimal insurance premium. I think this is a huge potential. You start where, with a small micro insurance and start progressing them towards, much more sophisticated products going forward. But I think insurance industry is consciously trying. I think IRDA itself is promoting Bima Sugam and all those things where technology is going to be used to bring all these products being a kind of common marketplace. A lot of work is happening there too.
Totally. Thank you for that. And again, as I said, I think it's a question of maturity in the scale, and I think we'll get there at some point in time. Now, one last question. I know we're going to run out of time. Last question to you is that, in your mind, where do you see the technology impact on the BFSI segment overall? when you look at 5 years down the line, I know that 2-3 years things will happen in a little way, but when you look at the future, do you see a different way of operating in the banking segment? Do you see, especially with the technology impact?
So technology definitely transformed the customer experience. In fact, I keep saying that the customer expectations in the banking industry is not about X bank versus Y bank. It's about, the customer service expectations are shaped by fintechs, startups, or even e-commerce platforms, the large hyperscalers.
Correct.
And how do we, meet those customer expectations is going to be a big challenge for the banks. It is not about the banking industry alone, which means that we need to look at our products, processes, people, technology, everything, which will converge to make the customer happy and customer changing I'll just give an example. We did a dipstick survey recently. What do you expect when you come to a bank?
Right.
And everybody said that we want quick services. And what is that quick service? Today, we open a bank account. Just remember, we open bank account in 15 minutes. In many countries, it takes 15 days to open an account. 15 days. 15 minutes we open an account, and customer says that, why does it take 15 minutes? So in the service expectations where everything from car to a cartridge is being delivered at 10 minutes, how do you meet this customer expectations is going to be the biggest challenge for the banks, and we all have to work towards that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Setty. Let's give a big round of applause to Mr. Setty.